We follow Jesus together with his disciples since they responded to his call to follow him.
Step by step, Jesus introduced them to his worldview and helped them to understand what it would mean in terms of relationships with the people they meet, ranging from the brother to the enemy. Jesus also led them to experience God as their Father who cares for them.
Now it is time to make a vital decision.
Matthew 7 verse 12. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets.
With these words, Jesus reminds his disciples of the Shema, of loving your neighbor as yourself, before he challenges you to make the decision.
Matthew 7, 13 and 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it.
You have a decision to make. You cannot continue following Jesus beyond this point except if you make the decision to go through the narrow gate and the road that leads to life.
The disciples then had to make this decision, and you are standing now at the point of decision as well. If you are discipling someone, he or she will get to this point as well.
This is not the decision to follow. That decision we have made when reading about the call of the disciples.
This is the decision to do what Jesus taught, to apply what Jesus taught, to put it into practice. It is not enough to hear what he said and be excited and happy to hear. This is Bible study only. Exciting to hear, but nothing changes.
We will find the word do many times in the next passages. In English, it is often translated into different words, but in the original language in which the New Testament was written, the word do is used every single time.
In the original, a tree does not bear fruit. It does fruit.
Matthew 7, verse 17 to 20. Likewise, every good tree does good fruit, but a bad tree does bad fruit. A good tree cannot do bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot do good fruit. Every tree that does not do good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit you will recognize them.
Matthew 7 verse 21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heaven, but only he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven.
Matthew 7 verse 24 to 27. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them is like a wise man who does his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock.
But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them is like a foolish man who does his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. All of us want to build our house on the rock. Now, what is the rock?
To do the words of Jesus. Not only hear, but do.
To apply the words of Jesus.
Matthew 5 verse 1 to 7 verse 21 is one unit. Jesus speaks here about putting Matthew 5 to 7 verse 12 into practice. It is about living a kingdom lifestyle, producing good fruit.
It is about putting Jesus' teaching up to this point in practice.
This is what it means to build on the rock.
Do you still want to follow? Now it's time to discuss in your disciple group. Page through Matthew 5 to 7. Remind the others in the group what Jesus said about relationships with people around us and our relationship with God.
Be quiet and wait on the Lord to show you what you should put into practice if you want to continue following Jesus.
Share this in the group. They are your accountability partners and will have to pray for you, encourage you, and help you to put into practice what Jesus taught.
Pray for each other, that the blessing of a disciple of Jesus will be the visible fruit in your lives.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself.